Hello there. Right, we're in the year 2020 now, and it's at a time in our history when people should be as free as they've ever been. But we're not, because we're living in a world of compliance. For the past 20 years, agendas have been at play, agendas designed to make us all compliant. And in the last few years, them agendas have escalated to the point where we're now living in a world of forced compliance. And how forced compliance works is simple. Either you comply or you will be ostracised. Now, yesterday we had the sorry sight of having to watch all our Premiership footballers take the knee. Okay, just like a few months ago, all our Premiership captains were told to wear rainbow armbands. Okay, now woe betide any of them players, who went against them demands, and stood up and said, I'm not doing that, because we all know they'd be ostracised and they'd be hounded out of the game they love for good. Because this is how it works. They use fear, and the fear of retribution to make you compliant, to turn the people into a bunch of indoctrinated, compliant sheep. But I don't care, and I'm not fearful. I will never comply. I will never allow my opinions and my thoughts to be constructed by anyone other than by myself. Okay, so I refuse to be scared by the nonsense that is the climate change crisis. I refuse to be terrified by the nonsense surrounding the exaggerated COVID-19 crisis, which is, although practically gone now, you still see millions of people wearing masks unnecessarily and scared to stand within 2 meters of each other unnecessarily. I will not be a party to this nonsense, okay? Nor will I ever accept, or support movements like the LGBTQ movement, or will I accept that 5 and 6-year-old children should be taught about sex and transgenderism at that age, right? And this isn't born out of any kind of bigotry. It's born out of this. I'm a human being, right? I believe that I was put on this earth as a white man for whatever reason, but that I'm subject to the designs of nature. Okay, I'm subject to the designs. I believe nature has got an absolute design for man and a design for woman. Okay, so although, and listen carefully, I will never in my lifetime prejudice against anybody who chooses a different sexuality or a different gender, than I do. Okay, I will never prejudice. I will never wish harm on them. I will never call for harm on them. I will never call for harm on any other human being, okay? But by the same token, I will never be forced into giving up my beliefs, my human basic instinct beliefs in the design of nature in order to support or to justify somebody else's agenda that goes against my basic human, instincts, okay? Now also, I believe that the feminist movement, when started, was a movement for good, to provide equality between women and men. And I believe, that was attained decades ago. Now I believe that feminist movement, has been hijacked by others, most likely men, in order, to fulfill another agenda. The agenda to castrate men. The agenda to deny men of any exclusivity whatsoever in order to weaken them and to quell the threat that men pose to the powers that be. Now, I don't care if people think my views are in the minority or if I'm ridiculed for my views, because at the end of the day, they're my views, and I'm a human being with the same rights as everybody else. And one of my rights as a free man, and I intend to spend my life as a free man, not a conforming sheep. As a free man, I'm entitled to formulate my own opinions and express my own opinions. Okay, I'm sick of being told, oh, you can't have an opinion on feminism because you're not a woman. You can't have an opinion on transgenderism because you're not a transgender. You can't have an opinion on racism because you're not black. What? I can't have an opinion on racism because I'm not black. Does that mean racism is a one-way street? White on black only? Absolutely not. It's a two-way street. It's a three-way street. And I can and will have an opinion on it and won't be told otherwise. So, for instance, white guilt. Until my dying day, I will never ever say that I feel white guilt. Why should I feel guilty being white when it was nature's design for me rather than my choice? Why should I feel guilty for being white because somebody 300 years ago who happened to be white did something bad? It's an absolute nonsense, that any white person on this planet now, will say the words they feel white guilt. It's absolutely ridiculous. Okay, and also I'm sick of hearing about white privilege, how I must have white privilege. The only privilege I've had in my lifetime is this: to get my ass out of bed at 5 o'clock every morning, work my ass off, 65, 70 hours a week to provide for my family, okay? That's the privilege I've had. My privilege has been not to grow into being a lazy bastard, okay? Looking after my family, that's it. I didn't receive them privileges from being white. I received them privileges from what I'm made of inside. Right? Another thing I'll never do to my dying day, I will never take the knee or bend the knee to anybody else on this planet, be they royalty, governments, police, army, or any other individual. I will never bend the knee, simply because of two things. I don't believe in a hierarchy. I don't believe in class systems. Okay? I believe we are all equal. We are all born equal in this world, and we should all live equal lives, until the day we all leave this planet. So I will never take the knee to anybody who thinks they are superior to I. Another thing, I'll never take the knee to an organization, a movement like Black Lives Matter, because until they tackle, and stand up for, black lives that are being affected by other black people, I will never take them as a serious force for good. All over the world, black people, more black people, far more black people are suffering and dying at the hands of other black people, has been the case since the beginning of time, okay? So for Black Lives Matter, to claim that they're looking out for, they're caring for all black lives, when the only time they're visible is after a black person is killed by a white person, is just a joke. And for the people who believe this is a peaceful, movement for good, to create, goodness for all black people, are blind. Black Lives Matter are quite simply a political organisation. They're aligned to the left of the political spectrum in both the UK and in the United States with the Labour Party and the Democrats. They've got three very clear agendas. The first agenda being, along with the leftist counterparts, to depose, these two countries, of their right-wing governments, the Tories and the Republicans. The second agenda, is to basically cripple capitalism in these two countries. And the third and their scariest agenda is to defund, or paralyze the police forces in these two countries and to replace it with the kind of anarchy you have seen in them two countries in the past few weeks. Now, another thing that will never happen with me till my end of time is I will never close these eyes, to the evil that is the mainstream media, the enemy of the people, okay? I will never close my mind to their selective reporting, to their bias, to the distorting of facts and their distorting of statistics, to forward the agendas of their paymasters, the puppet masters who are the real power in this world, I will never close my eyes to the evil that is the mainstream media, okay? Now, when it comes to racism, as I've said before, racism is not a one-way street, And I will never entertain anybody who's unwilling to debate the issue of racism and not look at it from both sides of the argument, because they are the biggest problem of all when it comes to racism. Now, when it comes to the statistics that I say, the mainstream media distorts, let's look at the statistics last year in the United States. You might say, why is he talking about the United States? We're in the UK. That's the exact point. all the uproar and the civil unrest in the UK today has all because of something that happened in America. So let's look at the statistics for America. So last year in 2019, of all the people, all the black and white people killed unlawfully, killings of black and white people in America last year, here's the statistics. Of all the black people killed, 1% were killed by police, as opposed to 3% of white people killed by police. So therefore, in America last year, you were 3 times more likely to be killed by a policeman if you were white than if you were black. Okay, you won't hear this on the BBC or CNN, right? Of the rest of the black people killed, in America last year, 3% were killed by white people, and the remaining 96% were killed by other black people. Okay, of the rest of the white people killed in America last year, 16% were killed by other white people, right? The remaining 81% were killed by black people in America last year. How do these statistics fit in with the bullshit statistics that they're pumping out in our faces in the UK? Statistics such as, well, if you're a black person in the UK, you're 9 times more likely to be stopped than if you're a white person. Maybe that's because, as the statistics in America have shown, you're 9 times more likely to kill somebody else, or you're 9 times more likely to be carrying a weapon, or you're 9 times more likely to be involved in the drug trade. You're 9 times more likely to be involved in violent gangs. This is the point. This isn't about racism. This is about agendas and lies and distorting facts and statistics in order to basically blind the people, into indoctrination and into compliance. If our mainstream media could tell the truth in an unbiased manner, like you can find on the internet, then all the problems of this world would disappear. Absolutely. So I'm tired of being told, because I'm white, I don't understand about racism. I don't understand about slavery, right? I understand all about prejudice and oppression and slavery and racism of all races, of black people, of white people, of Chinese people, of all peoples. Because all through time, there hasn't been a race of people, a nationality of people, a colour of people who haven't suffered from these things through time, There hasn't been anybody living on this planet now whose ancestors haven't gone through, some kind of persecution, some kind of oppression. You got 60 million Russians murdered in 20 years in the last century. You got 50, 60 Chinese murdered in the last century. You got 50 million Europeans, killed in World War II. 30 million killed in World War I. 2 wars that were fought over power and money and nothing else. Okay? You've got further back in history, obviously, you've got the slavery of black people. You've also got slavery of white people all through history. You've got countries like Ireland, being persecuted by the British. You've got African countries being persecuted by other African countries. All through time and all through history, people have been persecuted and oppressed. So you need to leave the past in the past and concentrate on your own life on this planet. What's happened to you on this planet? What concerns you on this planet? Or you will never, ever end things like prejudice and things like racism. Okay? Now, obviously, black people, racism has followed them through the ages, whereas the oppressions of different white races hasn't. Okay? I hold my hands up, and that's absolutely 100% true. Okay? But why has it? Because the racism I speak of hundreds of years ago was a violent, brutal, murderous racism. Okay? The racism we're faced with today, what I would call modern racism, is far different. It's more about racial profiling and basically character building, character assessing, and that's the modern form of racism, racial profiling. So white people will profile a black person as being this, that, and the other, and the same vice versa. So how you break racism, is you break these stereotypes. But to break stereotypes, it's got to come from within communities, within races. So for white people, yeah, to break the stereotype that a huge percentage of them are racist, what they need to do is they need to expel racism from their race, show this to the world, and then within a few years, a few decades, people will stop be thinking of white people as racist. The stereotypes among black people, yeah, they need to be dealt with within black people. And I'm not being a racist to say them, but a lot of people around the world see black people as being, a lot of black people being criminally minded, to be drawn into gang life, etc. Things like this, okay? So the black communities themselves have to expel these stereotypes from within them, yeah? And when people see less and less and less black people involved in crime, then that stereotype over time will extinguish, okay? And sometime in 100 years, we may be on a world where nobody will be stereotyped and everybody, yeah, will be looked at in the same, with the same pair of eyes. And that's how you eradicate racism. You don't eradicate it, yeah, by smashing up properties and destroying other people's lives. You see, I am not a racist. 100%, I categorically deny or defy anybody to call me a racist, because I treat everybody as an individual. So I treat everybody based on just one characteristic, and that's their behaviour. Their behaviour towards me, behaviour towards mine, and their behaviour towards other. It's as simple as that. If a white man steals from me, I call him a thief. If a black man steals from me, I call him a thief. Yeah, if a black man or a white man murder, I call them a murderer. If they rape, I call them a rapist. Yeah, if they are racist, I call them a racist. Okay, that's what I do. Yeah, individually, yeah, I call people for what they are, not for the colour they are. Okay, but when you get a large group of the same colour or the same race or the same nationality committing the same crime against a different group of the same race and same nationality, I believe we are completely justified in labelling them, labelling them not only by their crime, but by their race and by their creed. So, for instance, in the UK in the last 20 years, hundreds and hundreds of Muslim men, mainly Pakistani Muslim men, formed groups, formed gangs, and went about raping, and brutalizing young white English girls. They didn't do it to black girls. They didn't do it to Asian girls. It was young white English girls. So I feel justified in describing them, right, as Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs, who carried out a racial attack, racially motivated attack on white English girls. Absolutely justified. But our mainstream media, having covered it up for years and eventually had to come clean and admit to the existence of these grooming gangs, they still refused, to label them as Muslim grooming gangs or Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs, and they still refused to label their crime as racially motivated. The evil of the mainstream media, causes so much of this racial hatred you would not believe, right? Their refusal to say it as it was, black and white, all it did was created more resentment in the white English people against the perpetrators of these crimes. Mad, right? But I call out violence wherever I see it, and no matter who it's against, because I'm a pacifist. I'm an unashamed pacifist, and I will call out violence no matter what colour, race or creed are committing it, and against whatever colour, race or creed are receiving it, okay? I just hate violence, full stop. And my only agendas are to protect my kids and protect all kids where I can, from the dangers of this world, I've also got an agenda to call out the evil that is the mainstream media and their lies and their bias, and an agenda to call out the agendas of the puppet masters, the real power in this world. And the reason I've got an agenda to call out the mainstream media, the mouthpiece of the puppet masters, and the real power, the elites, the puppet masters, is to try to wake people up, try to open people's eyes up to see what is really happening in this world around them, just like I see it, That's my intention, is to hopefully And if I can succeed in opening the eyes of 50 people in my lifetime, then that could be, 50 souls I may have saved. And that's my only agenda. I'm not here for stardom, superstardom, or attention. I'm here with good, honest, genuine intentions. Because at the end of the day, I go home. I go home to my black missus and my two beautiful black kids, okay? My black family, who I've treated 5, 6 times better than my previous white families, without a question of a doubt, okay? So does that make me racist against my white families because I treat my black families better? After all, one of the descriptions of racism is where you treat people differently based on their colour. So I treat my black family a lot better than I did my white. So does that make me racist against my white? Absolutely not, because I'm not a racist of any kind, and I'm allowed to have my say on racism and anything else, because we can all have a say, because we all live on this planet, and all our kids live on this planet and have to do for the next so many years, okay? And because of that, because of the future of our children, I believe it's an absolutely dangerous agenda, to allow our police force to be paralysed, and it needs to stop. It needs to be stopped right now. I've seen videos in the last week of rioters telling the police what to do. Walk away, run away, don't come near us, you're not welcome here. And the police complying with them. It's absolutely madness. It's the road to anarchy, and we ain't far from it, And another problem is our police force has already been really badly weakened by simply being allowed to turn into a showcase for diversity. So we've now got a police force with a large percentage of small 5 foot, 5 foot 1 inch women making up part of our police force, who basically aren't suited to the rigours of tackling crime and hardened criminals and keeping, rioting mobs at bay. They're just not suitable. And they're being trained more to identify hurt feelings than they are to identify dangerous situations and crime. It's ridiculous, And if we allow them to become paralysed even further, paralysed by the fear of not being able to approach any non-white person for fear of being labelled as racist, then we are in for hard times. And we've had a glimpse in the last few weeks, of what anarchy will look like in the UK if it ever takes over, See, the thing is, if we allow this to happen, if we allow anarchy to take over and the police to be paralysed by fear, who's going to protect us from the bad elements in all races who are going to take advantage of this situation? Now the thing is, the biggest and obvious example I can give you is 20 years ago in the UK, there was a paranoia among the police about being called Islamophobic and racist by Muslim, and Asian people. So for years and years, the police were too scared, to say anything against the Muslim community, to approach them, to apprehend them, etc. So what happened? The bad apples, the minority of bad apples in the Muslim community took advantage of it. And because of that, thousands of young English girls suffered rapes and brutality because of this. Okay? So if this is allowed to happen again, and all non-whites in the UK become literally a protected species from the police, okay? Who's gonna stop the bad apples, the small percentage in all them, races, from taking advantage? Who's gonna protect us then? It's absolute madness, what's going on, and it needs to stop, and it needs to be stopped now, okay, before it gets any further down the line. So no, I'm not going to comply. I'm not going to comply with agendas, right, that go against my beliefs, go against my human instinct, go against my belief in the designs of nature, and I'm especially not going to conform to agendas that put the futures of the people I love, my children, my family, children everywhere, put them in jeopardy, put their future lives, the future freedoms, of speech and everything in jeopardy. No, I will not conform to these agendas, and nor should any of you, right? All I want in this world, is truth and justice to prevail. Now, when it comes to justice, let me say this before I go, okay? You all know about the GoFundMe, where people can, donate money to worthy causes of people who've been, you know, disadvantaged or killed or whatever. Okay, let's look at the GoFundMe for 3 individuals. Right, in America, you've got a GoFundMe for George Floyd. Now, we all know by now who George Floyd is. Obviously, he was a criminal. He was arrested by the police. In the process of that arrest, yeah, they unlawfully killed the man, okay? The police are getting what they deserve to go into prison, okay? George Floyd's GoFundMe, the last time I looked, was approaching $15 million. Hey, $15 million. Last year in the UK, a young immigrant boy, yeah, somewhere in Yorkshire, got bullied at school. A white kid pushed him on the grass, poured some water on him. What the mainstream media told you at the time was what I've just said. Okay, it was all over the front pages for 2 or 3 days, just like George Floyd's been all over the front pages for 2 weeks. Okay, but they didn't tell you that the same kid previously had bullied somebody else, and it was like retribution for that. Okay, right? But basically, the kid got bullied, some water poured over him. The great British public donated to a GoFund page for this kid and his family something like £147,000. Okay. 3 months ago in Bolton in the UK, a 7-year-old girl, Emily Jones, right, was walking through a park with her family and got butchered to death, stabbed to death in the neck by a knife by an immigrant woman. Okay. The media didn't put this on the front page. You had to go to the middle of the paper. They didn't make it as a main headline on BBC, ITV, any of them. Some of them you even had to go to the website to read up on the story. They did everything they could to cover the identity of the attacker for weeks and weeks and weeks. So basically, they swept this incident, this horrific murder, under the carpet as much as they could. Okay? The GoFundMe page for Emily Jones, when I checked last, a couple of days ago, stands at £22,000. Can anybody on this planet, yeah, explain to me how, yeah, the life of a career criminal in America, okay, the life of a career criminal in America, yeah, who's killed unlawfully by the police can be worth $15 million. So George Floyd's family, okay, who are unable to stop him from a life of crime, unable to keep him away from a drug addict, yeah, all of a sudden now are going to be in receipt of $15 million, probably plus another $20 million with a lawsuit against the police, no doubt. Okay, so that man's life was worth that much money to his family. Okay, the life of an immigrant child, not the life, but the hurt feelings of an immigrant child who had some water poured on him in the UK. The great British public donated £140,000 to his family, okay, to pay for their hurt feelings. Okay. The life of Emily Jones, the most innocent of all, 7-year-old victim of a horrific, brutal, racially motivated, yeah, attack by a jealous immigrant woman. Okay, her life is worth 22,000. It's worth 1/7. Yeah, her life is worth 1/7 of the hurt feelings of an immigrant boy, and it's worth something like 1/100th of 1/100th of the life of a black criminal in America. Can anybody justify that to me? The people in the UK, yeah, if any of you people in the UK, yeah, have donated, yeah, to the fund for the immigrant boy in Yorkshire and haven't donated to the life of Emily Jones, yeah, hang your heads in shame. What happened to that child is symptomatic of the absolute disgrace, yeah, the UK has come today. The politically correct, diversity directed, yeah, conformity, yeah, compliant country, yeah, and people that the UK have become, yeah. You're an absolute disgrace, yeah. I've never been so saddened by any act in the last few years than I have been by the death of Emily Jones, okay? It's the most disgusting, yeah, murder and attack I've heard about in years. And to rub salt into the wounds of that poor grief-stricken family, yeah, they now realise they're living in a country, right, where the feelings of an immigrant child who hasn't even suffered any physical injuries, yeah, are worth 7 times more than their 7-year-old daughter's life. It's an absolute disgusting country we are living in. It's all part of the same thing. It's all part of the same agenda. Yeah, but we need, yeah, to stand up to this bullshit now. We need to stand up to this conformity bullshit. Yeah, and we need to get proper justice for Emily Jones and any other kid like Emily Jones who's been basically treated, yeah, like a worthless little pawn in this big game of chess that the elite are playing with all our lives. Until next time, guys, feel free to like, share, subscribe. Anybody offended that a white man's speaking about racism, you can do one or two things, yeah. You can go on the internet and look up the hundreds of videos from black men who are saying exactly the same thing. People like Denzel Washington, who are basically saying racism is all down to one word: fatherlessness in black families, things like that. So if you don't want to listen to a white man, you can always go and, you know, check out, you know, all the hundreds of black people who are agreeing with what me and many others are saying. Yeah. And if you're really, really offended, then just go and look at another channel, because I can't be bothered with you. Until next time, guys, feel free to like, share, subscribe. Take care of each other, will you? Bye for now.